to our meditation time together. I hope that you've arrived to a spot where you can physically be comfortable. And if not, just give yourself permission, make some adjustments, get the body settled. And as you do that, just gently allow your eyes to close or take your eyes away from the screen for just these few minutes. And turn your attention to your breath. Before we really settle in, before we walk through these next few moments together, let's just each bring our focus to our breath. Just finding this beautiful rhythm of a slow breath in and a full breath out. And use that breath as a way to just arrive to the present moment, knowing that that is exactly where we find the breath, this moment here, breathing in. And then the moment passes as we breathe out. And then the next present moment comes. So just settle in, breathe. And as you're beginning to just settle and the body is getting comfortable and the breath is serving as an anchor to this present moment, I want to just set some context for these few minutes that we have. First, we honor the fact that this is a practice. We show up. We bring ourselves to the present moment. The mind tries to distract us. We come right back and we practice. And so I'll give you some things to just sit with, to reflect upon, to see how the mind and the heart respond. And then again, if the mind starts to take you somewhere else, just come back to this breath in and find that present moment again. We're on this journey for these next several times together of just sitting with the limbs of yoga, of really understanding how these limbs, these teachings, apply to our contemporary everyday lives here in this 21st century. These ancient teachings, these Sanskrit terms, not only have meaning for us now, they have guidance, they have direction, they have lessons if we're just willing to sit and let them come in and connect to us. And so we've been looking at this limb of the yamas, these moral teachings, these ways of being in the world. And we've looked at this limb of non-harming and doing good and being kind. We've looked at the limb of satya, of truth, knowing our truth, sharing our truth, advocating for it, finding the balance between sharing our truth and being kind and non-harming at the same time. And so today we're going to look at two of these yamas, two of these moral teachings that yoga gives to us. And so I want to share the Sanskrit word with you first and just kind of let the vibration of those words just sit with you. Just feel them. The first one is called Asteya. Asteya. And then the second is Brahmacharya. And we're going to just sit with these two together tonight. Asteya. At the very basic level of it, the best English translation that we have is this idea of non-stealing. And I know, like the non-harming, it's so easy to think, I've got this one. I don't steal, I don't take things that don't belong to me. But we're going to look at this a little deeper. And then the second one, Brahmacharya. The best translation we've got with the English words that we have is the right use of our energy. So this idea of non-stealing, not robbing of ourself, whatever that is, and then using our energy in the right way. We've explored the idea of dharma and purpose, and so maybe this idea of brahmacharya is using our energy toward whatever each of our purpose is, our contribution to this world. So just listen to those words again, Asteya. Just feel the vibration of it, Asteya, non-stealing. And Brahmacharya, the right use of your energy. And for these two amazing precepts that are so valid in our lives today, I want to tell you a story. It is one of my most dear stories from Ajahn Brahm, this precious monk who has just shared so many of life's teachings in his simple stories. And so I want to use this story of his to really help us understand and just really kind of solidify in our spirit this idea of Asteya, non-stealing, and Brahmacharya, the right use of our energy. And the story was told by a young school teacher that Ajahn Brahm got to meet. And this teacher is telling him the story about what happened to him when he was a younger man. He was a soldier in the British Army, and it was World War II. And he was on patrol in the jungles of Burma, and he was so far from home, and he was so young. But he had a duty, and he was there to serve. And so as he's so far from home in this jungle, this unknown territory, a scout comes in and tells the captain of their patrol that they're surrounded, that the enemy troops have come in and they have no way out. They are surrounded. And this young man's heart began to beat fast and his fear began to grow. And he thought, this is it. I'm serving my country, my purpose, and this is it. And so he really expected the captain to order all of the men to just begin to fight their way out in hopes that maybe some of them would make it through, but that the rest would die an honorable death fighting against the enemy. But this captain, he didn't do the typical thing that these young men thought that he would do. And that's why I've chosen this story to help us understand Asteya, non-stealing, and Brahmacharya, the right use of our energy. This captain told his men, put down your weapons and have a seat right here together. Gather in and take out your pack. And I'd like you each to make a cup of tea. And as this young man is telling the story, it almost sounds unbelievable that in the middle of this jungle, this state of danger, that this captain would order his men to sit and have a cup of tea. And so the soldiers thought that this captain was perhaps mad. Who can think of having a cup of tea when your life is surely about to end? But this captain was wise. And I don't know if he practiced these tenets, these yamas, these ideas of Asteya and Brahmacharya. But I think his actions can explain to us what these concepts can look like in our life. So as these men sat, wondering what was next, a few minutes passed by, and the scout for their troop came back to the captain and whispered in his ear. And the captain said, all right, men, gather your things up because the enemy has passed through and it's now safe for us to leave. The only reason that young man could tell that story to Ajahn Brahm was because his captain did not want to just push through, didn't want to just go into enemy territory, into the danger, and just push. He chose to wait, thus not robbing these young men of their lives and really teaching them how to use their energy well. And so as this young man is telling the story a little bit later in his adult life, he says, I took these lessons. That lesson from sitting and drinking tea in the jungles of Burma, I've taken it to all the other parts of my life. In times when things were struggling, instead of pushing through and fighting, I learned to pause And sometimes I literally drank a cup of tea, and sometimes it was just this metaphor for just wait. Don't rob yourself of a chance to do something good. Don't rob others from a chance to see the peace and the kindness that's within you by pushing through and fighting. He used these lessons of Brahmacharya and Asteya through an illness, through some trauma of a relationship, and those lessons stayed with him through the rest of his life. Asteya, non-stealing, stopping and pausing in a way that we don't rob ourselves of a chance to do good, all because our emotions are pushing us to do something else, just like those young men in the jungle. Brahmacharya, the right use of our energy. Not just putting our head down and pushing through and just doing the best we can, but rather pausing, conserving our energy in a way that allows us to make good, healthy, informed decisions about what comes next. We are so very lucky that these teachings from thousands of years ago, Asteya, Brahmacharya, can inform our lives today. So we're going to just pause for the next couple of minutes and just in the quiet, I'll just say these Sanskrit words just a few more times, and you just see what your mind's eye begins to see. What reflections do you feel across your heart, across your soul, about maybe how you need to pause a little more, not rob yourself of the opportunity to rest, to show up as the best version of yourself, not robbing others of the chance to see who you really are, the core of your being, not just your emotional responses. And Brahmacharya, realizing that you work so hard to cultivate energy, you certainly don't want to just waste it. You want to use it for good, for your purpose, for the people that you care so very much about. So you just continue to breathe slow, deep breaths in and out. And just let the lessons of Asteya, Brahmacharya, just sit with you as we have this metaphorical cup of tea together for the next few minutes. Asteya, Brahmacharya, Asteya, Brahmacharya. And as you continue to breathe, just notice whatever came up for you. Notice the images, notice the thoughts, notice the distractions, how you came back. Just notice. And as we prepare to close our time for today, I would challenge each of us, just for the next little bit, to think about living out these precepts, these concepts, these beautiful teachings of Asteya, non-stealing, and Brahmacharya, the right use of your energy. Look for opportunities where you can practice these. Imagine yourself pausing and taking this metaphorical or maybe real cup of tea before you respond to something, before you emotionally attach to something. And notice the outcome after you pause. And then be so very grateful that these ancient teachings still have everyday relevance for us in the 21st century. Namaste.